So, folks, we have all been aware for a long time of the brutal civil war that has been unfolding on the East Coast of America. It's been a long and grueling campaign. Season by season, inch by inch, foot by foot, the battle lines have been drawn. The middle ground between them, a no man's land of death and destruction, wherever the eye might look. Just nothing as far as the eye can see. The armies at play here have been brutal, the occupation terrible, and finally someone is doing something about it. That's right, everyone. Of course, the image that my words have brought into your mind is the image that everyone associates with Portland, Oregon. I take you now. Luckily, we have Senator Ron Wyden on the scene in Portland, Oregon, to take a look at the wanton destruction that is being that is currently unfolding in the city of Portland. The smoke and the blood in the craters are all too plain to see. And thankfully, our president, Donald J. Trump, has put forward an order sending troops to quell that violence, that never-ending war of destruction that is currently unfolding, as you all just saw, around this very ICE facility. Thank God, our president, Donald J. Trump, issued this statement. At the request of Secretary of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, I am directing Secretary of War Pete Hegseth to provide all necessary troops to protect war-ravaged Portland and any of our ICE facilities under siege from attack by Antifa and other domestic terrorists. I am also authorizing full force if necessary. Thank you for your attention to this matter. So, just all of the troops that Portland, Oregon will need to put down the violence that is, of course, besetting the various ICE facilities, much like the one you currently, you previously saw from Senator Ron Wyden. I take you now to a shot from just the other night. Again, this is the same facility Ron Wyden the senator was reporting from. Look at the dastardly violence being enacted here. It is truly beyond the pale. Violence unending. The craters, the smoke, the explosions. I mean, we'll turn off the music, but truly just beyond the pale. Look at this heinous act of violence. Think of how those poor, heavily armored riot troops coming to suppress dissent must feel walking out. This is an assault on their very psyches. Seeing donuts on fishing line?
Seems like someone let the puppy get loose in Portland.
Next, they're gonna be unleashing their dogs of war. Cute little dachshunds of war. I like, this is ridiculous. Are they fishing for ice? I don't know. We don't see any of the ICE officers whip off their helmets and attempt to dive for the bait. So clearly, they might need to use actual donuts from a fresh donut shop if they want to get any bites. They're ice fishing? Yes, they are. Hell yeah. But yeah, these are the heinous acts of violence around the besieged ICE headquarters. again, the president says, are ICE facilities under siege from attack by Antifa? I guess the donuts were too aggressive. Maybe if they were unfrosted donuts, maybe too many chocolate covered donuts on string. Maybe that was too triggering for the ICE officers. You know, looked too much like the people they've been trained to detain. It was too much stress for them. Their hearts can't take it. They're keeling over. This entire thing is so stupid. It's just so dumb. Also, I want to, in all seriousness, what is happening here is bad, right? The president of the United States is going on social media and in order to announce an invasion of an American city for literally no reason. Like, you can't state that Portland is under an emergency. Like, it is a calm, tranquil street. The protesters are protesting in compliance of law. Like, this is entirely a power grab by a desperate president. And I want to point out, like, some people, you know, some Trump folks in chat, you know, I've seen some in this stream already. True, Matthew H. It could be classified as terrorism if they're diabetic. But, you know, some like conservative folks are like, haha, we're coming for Portland. And it's like, y'all realize this is bad for you guys, right? You all realize this is a massive overstep and an overreach by the administration. And there's this idea there's never gonna come like some kind of accountability for the people who are deliberately breaking our systems of governance. And that's just not the case. Because it's gonna come, whether it's from like Democrats winning and putting up an actual opposition party, or it's gonna come from the complete and utter collapse of support from Republicans, right? This came out today, and I found it very interesting in Newsweek here. A September Verasite poll found that only 28% of adults believe the US is on the right track, compared to 60% say it is off on the wrong track. Another 12% said they were unsure. That marks a sharp drop from August, when the split was 33% to 57%. You know, like, okay, so we've got a 5% drop among the general population. So where did that general drop come from? Whomst among us is losing more faith in Donald Trump? Is it the people who were already expecting Donald Trump to hurt and harm and destroy our prospects and future as a country, predominantly among left-leaning individuals and independents? Well, that number has gone down, but there's another number that's gone down. The downward trend is confirmed by other surveys. Gallup found that just 29% of Americans are satisfied with the way things are going in the US, the lowest level since Trump took office in January. That's down from 31 to 33% over the summer, and well below the 38% peak in May. And let's take a look here. Cracks in the GOP base. The Gallup poll data shows the sharpest declines among Republicans, with satisfaction falling to 68% in September from 76% in August. So we're looking at like an 8-point collapse in support for Donald Trump. That is a large degree of collapse. That is almost 10% of his base of support. And, you know, obviously take polling with a grain of salt, but it is a mark that, like, Trump is not doing better. And all of the fundamentals, all of the material elements here that would indicate people thinking that things are going better, none of them are in play. And in fact, are being actively moved against by the current administration. So this is going to be interesting to see, right? Because the tariffs are only going to continue to hurt people, continue to be noticeable as they increase, because we're only just seeing the beginning of tariff price hikes. As we get into the holiday season, the prices on toys and for Christmas shopping and parents, it is going to be extraordinarily noticeable. And there's only so many times you can bang the drum of like transgender Antifa terrorists are driving up the prices. Like, that's not gonna fly. It's barely flying now, and it's only flying among the stupidest members of the Republican base. You know, it's going to get worse. You couple that with the fact that by next summer, venture capital is going to be out of money, the money required to continue pumping capital into the AI bubble. And if that bubble pops, ain't nothing getting better economically here in any amount of time. Okay? In a relatively short order. That is not a recoverable pop in the short term. Okay? And so, all I gotta say is that when we are taking a look at this, the fact that he's lost 10% of support, that's pretty critical. Okay? And it's only getting worse. Just look at the special election in Arizona. The GOP has completely lost the gains they made with Latinos. Yeah. That'll be the next thing they try to censor, obscure, shut down polling data. Probably some trumped up lawsuits, pun intended. I mean, you're not wrong, but it's our job to keep fighting them tooth and nail. You know? This data continues to get worse, by the way, for Republicans. Other surveys reinforce the trend. According to AP Norc, the share of Republicans saying the U.S. is heading in the wrong direction surged from 29% to 51% in September. Among Republicans under 45, that number leapt by 30 points to 61%. 61% of Republicans under 45 think that this country is going the wrong way. And you can say, well, polls, you know, grain of salt. Yeah, even if you take the grain of salt here, the consistent finding across these pollings indicates that Trump's insanity is leaking down to people in general. People are aware of it, and people do not like it. Like, he's doing an incredibly bad job. He is offering his base nothing. He is abusing his power, and instead, everyone in the country is getting hurt. The policies that Donald Trump is embracing aren't even selective policies that only hurt like liberal bastions. They're policies that are going to kill conservative communities in rural America. And that's not really something you can ignore when your community is literally dying because of the price increases. He's doing a really bad job, indeed. So, yeah. Do you think conservatives are just stupid? No, I think conservatives live in areas where their communities incentivize conformity with conservative ethos. You know, like when you talk to conservatives from rural America, they like everyone they know is a Republican because everyone in their small town or in their family is a Republican. It is really hard to be a Democrat under those circumstances, right? And also, it's when you're in those circumstances, the television that gets watched in your household is predominantly Fox News. It's predominantly conservative news stations that filter your entire worldview through the lens of conservative politics. So I don't think that conservatives are stupid at all. But I think that a lot of them live quite steeped within the propaganda networks that are built and paid for by billionaire Republican donors, you know? So I don't think it's stupidity, because there are stupid people on the left too, God knows, you know? But it is a difference of like the degree to which people are propagandized to. As somebody who has, for like the last 5 years, watched and debunked an insane amount of conservative propaganda, it's the propaganda. Are you implying your parents were Democrats and raised you to believe this?
I remember when Biden sent the National Guard to take over Laramie, Wyoming, and force them to learn gender studies.
Indeed, the feminization camps of Laramie, Wyoming. Never forget. Never forget Fem Camp 1. No, like, I came from a very conservative household, you know? I came from that vein of fundamentalist Christian religiosity. You know, what I'm saying is rural communities are different, because I grew up surrounded by people with a lot of different political ideologies. I didn't grow up in rural Minnesota. I grew up in relatively urban Minnesota, you know, the suburbs. And like, I interacted with a lot of different types of people. You know, my parents made sure I did that at least. And it turns out when you do that, it's a lot harder to demonize against those groups of people. It's just, you know, different communities have different opportunities, and different communities have different, like, social communal rules. Democrats have lost touch with reality, I think. They have nothing to offer besides gay rights, which is fine, just not enough. Deep down, Kamala prefers Trump from Bernie. Yeah, I mean, I think the neoliberalism is the bitter, poisoned pill that has attempted to kill liberalism. And I think that in order to survive, we need to embrace better, more radical politics. We're seeing maybe the beginning of that movement with folks like Zoran Mamdani, you know, AOC attempting to take the torch from Bernie Sanders with the Fight Oligarchy tour. You know, these are building blocks that can be used to build a new era of politics that actually works for the working class rather than against it. But it requires us to work. It requires us to actually take action. And one of the reasons I wanted to talk about this threat to Portland is that, again, it doesn't fundamentally change what our job is. When we're talking about politics, folks, it doesn't fundamentally change what we have to do. Because those National Guards members are going to be deployed to Portland, and they're going to be really scary, and they're going to pound their chests, and they're going to do some brutal arrests for protesters. But our job is to continue to organize those protests, to continue to organize our ability to exercise our free speech rights, to continue to fight for those, to continue to show up and build a sustainable political project that can radicalize our current politics across this country into something that is effective. You got to organize. And I don't really care where you organize or what group you organize with. Organize with your local homeless shelter. Organize with your local LGBTQ center. Organize with your local library. Organize with your local senior center. Organize with whatever local group is available to you. And yes, even with your Democrats, even with your DSA. Organize with those local groups, whatever groups you feel comfortable joining. Hell, organize your intramural sports team. I don't care. But I want you to organize something. Organize some kind of group and get involved. Our community can help you organize your local Dems. Our community can help you organize your local DSA. If you are interested in doing that, you can join the Discord, !Discord in the chat. Use that link, join up, and then reach out to Dragonfly for help joining your local Dems, and reach out to GamerG for help joining your local DSA. She can even help you form your own branch.
Is there a better way to donate directly to you, Jack?
Okay.
I always feel bad about the YouTube dono cut. Keep up the great work.
Ian Hunt, thank you for the $20 super chat. I very, very much appreciate that. If you want to maximize the effectiveness of your donos, you can do that over on riverboat.gg. That's the on-screen chat here. If you do your dono through there, I get I think a 10% larger cut than YouTube. But thank you very, very much. I'm the VP for Spokane Pride, and I facilitate meetings for my DSA chapter. Hell yeah, Raider! Let's go! Love to see it. Love to see you guys being effective as hell. So, that being said, folks, the Republican position is not this all-encompassing, powerful one. It is not the position of a winning power. It is not the position of, strength. It is not the position from which an authoritarian wishes to operate from. This is absolutely a position of weakness. And we need to take advantage of that weakness by coming together in solidarity in whatever ways we can to be as effective as we possibly can so that we can hold on to power, we can take action, we can actually have policies that work for us rather than getting constantly screwed over by the oligarchs that work for Donald Trump. Patrick Lucas, thanks for the gifted membership. And folks, remember to like, comment, and subscribe, do the things. And really appreciate y'all being here. Always feels weird to tack this on at the end, but appreciate all y'all.
Riverboat Jack is coming to town. All the viewers gather round. Twitch and YouTube and swishy streams. All that content is bursting the scenes. Politics, daily, plenty more. Your sense of fashion you'll adore. So grab your stuff and hop aboard. We're going straight to Jack's Discord. Riverboat Jack.